In Amber by Hercules and Love Affair. It is 12 songs, 56 minutes long. Um, it's interesting. I know you like Hercules and Love Affair quite a bit, right?
Quite a bit, yeah. They're his kind of because it's like a guy essentially who often
Oh yeah,
collaborates with a number of different people,
yeah, yeah.
um, various different songwriters, honestly. And there's like his tracks have just become kind of like club hits throughout England,
Oh
especially
yeah.
throughout Europe. Um, Based on like the self-titled debut Hercules and Love Affair down to 2017's Omnion, which is my favorite personally for it's just
Omnion
no
is
non
really
was
good.
like fucking like no nonsense like breakdown dance like progressive house beats that like are really fun, really active. Some of my
Really
favorite
good
tracks I've
beats
played for
sometimes. Yeah.
hours, yeah, on there. This record is very different in like
Super,
in,
super different.
in like a
Ooh,
Drake kind
soundtrack.
of yeah, kind of like a Drake sort of way where it is just like very very different. And I'm like in a Drake way. I like a lot of it, but there's still a lot of it that I wish was a little different.
Yeah, I was interested in hearing your opinion on because I know that you really like Hercules and Love Affair. For me, it's hard because a lot of the Hercules and Love Affair I hear is in mixes or remixes of tracks, so I haven't listened to like a proper record in probably 4 years, maybe something like that. So it's been a minute. And when I was listening to this record, I had to actually go back and listen to some like earlier records of his because I'm like, oh wow, this is why is it so slow? I'm like, did they just speed up the remixes? Because I don't remember these records sounding slow. I was like, oh no, this is just a totally different pivot. And some of it is fantastic, and some of it I think could have gone away with because my only complaint of this record is it. There are songs that drag on a little too much that you could do some editing to just kind of get around, or you put in something quicker or something because the pacing of this record is just a little too slow for me. Where that ruins a otherwise like record that I actually genuinely like. Um, like it started off with Grace. I think that was not a good opening track. I like the track, but it's just you could have done something. You could have put one or even like Christian Prayers or Contempt for You as the opening track. I actually think Contempt for You would have been a very good opening track to get you in the record because that's probably my favorite on that. But more on that later. Um, but with Grace, it's just the beat and everything is like your grace, your grace. You have the do 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 thing, and then it's just at one level, right? It stays at one level and it just cruises for about 4 minutes. And for opening track, you don't necessarily want that because you usually want it to get you kind of sucked into the record. It doesn't necessarily need to show you all of the record, right? You want to take it out to dinner first and get to know it and all of that. But it just gives you all the meals at once, and you realize that you ordered too much food because your eyes are bigger than your stomach, and you're like, ah, shit. But
Or or even to me, like because I agree with you, like that thinks there should have been some alternative placement with the first song being Grace, but visually, kind of what you're saying is Grace is like an escalator going down. And an intro song should be an escalator going up, where like you can enter the museum and you see like, oh, there's a glimpse of that. Oh, there's a little bit of that coming up
exactly,
later. Oh, I
yep.
want to make sure I get to that. Kind of like your appetizer, you're first reading
You
the
don't
menu.
land the plane. You don't land the plane to start. You take off first, dude. You don't go. You don't go flaps up break.
Okay, as a recent flyer of Ryanair, apparently they do things differently there. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Oh, you flew Ryanair. I apologize.
More for that members content, okay? So we're gonna
I got a funny question for my It's like, oh, so you're not gonna fly for Ryanair or Spirit? And I'm like, fuck no, I'm not gonna be a pilot for them. What the hell?
you
I have a
mean
career.
you mean JetBlue or JetBlue EU? Or like I don't know, I could see EasyJet getting right. Anyways, so you
But
get to the song one, and I think
one,
that's the
great.
close. Yeah, I think that's the closest you'll get to. Hey, I was told I'm getting Hercules and Love Affair, and you've given me Drake. I'm kidding. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. I'm take that back. Don't. If you disagree with me, at SW Suarez is my Twitter handle. So
Fuck off.
if you're upset, go there. But I think that's for people who expected a Hercules and Love Affair kind of jaunt. That is the closest thing you will get out of this record in particular. Everything else is this blend of a softer, more orchestral approach to dance music, which I don't like because, I mean, we can go back and maybe we should do like a 5 year update of the whole making classical music more mainstream conversation. But classical music, take away all of the unnecessary stuffiness of classical music. You're generally like sitting down in an orchestral kind of situation, and you're not like twerking and grinding and like ass shaking and shit like that, like you would be for dance music, right? And so the juxtapositions are a little bit difficult, but I think they work out kind of well. Contempt for You, especially, I think, is a situation of that.
A really good track. Yeah. I think like I'm going into like one is a very, very good track. I love how it is. Like the beat, everything, the vocals of it's really, really good track. I wish that was the opening. Yeah, you have that interesting stuff of like mixing some strings, some orchestral stuff, even like I think I heard some harpsichords and stuff in some of it at some point. But um yeah, on the third track, You've Won This War. You have some interesting stuff with it, but it's a cool pivot in the way that they layer it and stuff within it. But at the same point, like I think some of it can be a little off-putting in a way. Like you can make like you can make house and classical mix in a way. It's just no one really has done it too much. But there's a couple like random things I've heard on SoundCloud of like, this is what I want. This is always what I want. But it's like 45 seconds and then it disappears. And I have to scroll back and be like, wait, no, 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 stop, stop, stop. No, 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 no. I want it. I want it. Don't go away. And, that's been happening for the past like 15 years and no one still have done it that I want. But I think the closest you get is the middle record with Contempt for You of this beautiful track. I really like it. Like you get this really cool thing of like industrial sounding alt rock ish, but with like some orchestral stuff in the background and almost like Depeche Mode sounding vocals, which is really cool, and I really like that.
Like
So
it calls back to old Hercules and Love Affair, like Blind or like my favorite songs off of Omnion. Like this is what Hercules and Love Affair can really do. I thought that like he could definitely take that. It's really not that hard. I mean, like I'm not going to produce it, so take that for what it's worth. But I would say you just take dance music as a construction overall. Don't screw with anything that. Just make the instrumentation kind of orchestral and keep that beats per minute. Just keep that pace. And I think that's pretty much all you need to do. Obviously, there's tweaking around it to make that better. There's the choice you make in what like songs, what harpsichord, strings, wind, whatever you do to really make it feel like a more transcendent electronic dance
yeah,
music piece.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, ultimately you don't get that here. I will say the thematics are on point about this sort of partially being a religious awakening, but then it being very sacrilegious throughout, but kind of playing with both of those like dichotomies together. I think at least keeps that sort of motif clear throughout the album because that clearly kind of gives all the rings of a concept record. I just don't love the implementation of the concept musically that much. Other than a couple songs, which are basically the ones we mentioned. The rest are pretty nice, and I think songs like Poisonous Storytelling are that great example of what you
yep,
said in the
yep.
beginning. Great idea, did not need to be 5 minutes long. Or you change that 5 minute song into a 3 minute, half minute song and give us a better drop. You have it in
I
you.
can get on board with that. Yeah, I can get on board with that. I think, yeah, as I said earlier, there's good ideas. There's a lot of different sounds that you can kind of pivot off of this, and I'm interested to see what they do with the next record moving forward. Of you have a long discographies of stuff that have been amazing hits in the past 10 years, um, and it's cool to hear this pivot. But I want to see what you can do with this and some of your older sounds, kind of mix it together and see what that happens. See what you can do with that. Like scrap together all of these different ideas and see if you can get one really cool cohesive record of old Hercules and Love Affair, new Hercules and Love Affair, and fucking make me some disco house with classical music. God damn it, I want it. But it's a good effort. It's a valiant effort. I think it's a decent record, but there's a lot. It's left me wanting a lot more, which is a good problem to have.
I'd agree. Arbitrary scale this week. We do arbitrary scales every week on Audioface because our review is our review, and what can further drive that point home than using a random part of news and applying a random number to it so you get confused about the meaning of a rating system to begin with, which brings us back to our point. This week it's going to be Joe Biden falling down off of his bike. More is worse. I give this, given what we gave the Drake album, which is literally off the charts of Uncle Joe falling off his bike. 3,000 some change.
3,100.
and a couple more cents after that. This is inflationary periods, Joe. Every cent matters.
Really does.
Fucking cancel our student loans. And so this time it's going to be, I'll give it 5. This is 5 falling downs. Not as good as
this is a good 5-6.
Yeah, not as good as
5.5. Like one fall where you clip but you catch the fall, but it's still embarrassing.
Yeah. Let's give it 6.5. It's 6 falls, but on the half fall that would have been the 7th, you end up it's 5 falls, but instead of a regular fall, which would have been the 6th, you fall, try to catch yourself, you clip and twist your ankle, and so I'm just giving you an extra half because just that's worse.
Ooh, yeah.
That counts as 1.5 falls. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. We can get on board with that.